Good day everyone. As the continuations of Asian studies, today we are going to discuss the country of Indonesia. And then as you can see, this is the flag of Indonesia. Ito po ay mayroong two equal horizontal bands which is the red and white. Yung red po ay nagre-represent sa courage and the blood of Indonesian people, while the white naman to is nagre-represent sa purity and the spirit of people. And then yung flag po is officially adopted on 17th century in August 1945, which are the Independence Day of their country. At the first time outside President Sukarno house when he publicly declared independence. At ang nakakatuwa pa dito, dahil ang flag was personally sewn o gawa ng kaniyang asawa na si Mrs. Fatmawati Sukarno. And this is the national anthem of Indonesia. And then, as the symbol of Indonesia, this is the called Garuda Pancasila. The national emblem or coat of the arms of Indonesia is called Garuda Pancasila. The main part of Indonesia national emblem is the Garuda with the heraldic shield on its chest and a scroll grip by its leg. Then, when we say Garuda, it is a large mythical bird or bird-like a creature from Sanskrit. Kung mapapansin nyo naman sa kaliwang bahagi, it's like a gold eagle because it is the large mythical bird, which is gold represents being a mythical. And then, yung name po nito is the Hindu name for the constellations of Aquila. And then the Shield 5 emblem represent Pancasila, the 5 principle of Indonesia national ideology. Yan po kung makikita nyo sa chest ng eagle, yung nagre-represent sa Indonesia national ideology. Next, as the Indonesian profile, the Republic of Indonesia or the Indonesia was coined from the Greek word Indus, means India, and also Nisos means island. Then, the capital city of Indonesia is the Jakarta, which is the special capital city region of Jakarta. And then the Independence Day was proclaimed on August 17, 1945, kasabay po ng officially publicity of the flag of the Indonesia from the Netherlands. Then the huge recognized Indonesian sovereignty on December 17 on 1949. Then the official language is Bahasa Indonesia or Indonesians. And aside from speaking of national language of Indonesian, yung mga Indonesian people po are fluent din po at least one of the more than 700 indigenous local languages. Imagine 700 local languages. Ganun po karami yung mga language sa Indonesia. Then the Indonesia is a republic based on the limited separations of power among the executive, legislative, and the judicial branches also. Then, as the prior on 2004 election, the People Consultative Assembly or the Majelis Permusyawaratan Rakyat or the MPR choose the president and vice president who were not necessarily from the same political party. Kumbaga, yung MPR po yung pumipili ng yung sino yung gagawing presidente at vice president. When we say MPR naman po, or People Consultative Assembly of the Republic of Indonesia, it is the legislative branch in Indonesia political system. This is their political system. Then the MPR, the highest authority of the state, has both elected and appointment members syempre. Then the highest court of the land is the Supreme Court. They are called in the Indonesian word is Mahkamah Agung. It was composed of justices appointed by the president from a list of candidacy approved by the legislature. And then the Indonesian has 30 provincial level units at mayroon 27 provinces and also 2 special region which is the Aceh and Yogyakarta, and one special capital city region, no other than Jakarta. Provinces are divided into districts or regions, which are further divided into sub-districts. And there also are some municipalities or cities government that are on the same administrative level as the district, and other are on the sub-district level syempre. And then the legal system of Indonesia is based on the Roman Dutch law. Kasabay na po nito na na-influensyahan ng mga Muslim yung kanilang mga paniniwala o practices. Then it modified by indigenous concepts and law and by new criminals procedures and the election codes. And the Indonesia's direct and popular elections of its parliamentary representative. And as the area of Indonesia, the Indonesia government says that the total land area of Indonesia is 1,904,569 million square kilometers, and the area estimated to 7.9 million square kilometers, including the an exclusive economic zone, and the land has only 23.62%, while the water has 76.38%. Kaya malinaw dito na sinasabi na ang sakop ng Indonesia is mas malawak yung water or sea area. As the populations of Indonesia, in 2004 study, there was a totaling estimated 238,452,952 individuals with a 1.5% annual population growth rate. Ganun po kalaki yung population ng Indonesia. At syempre, in Jakarta City, on the western and the end of Java, is the largest city with an estimated populations of 11.4 million in mid-2001. Ganun po, Jakarta pa lamang po yun has 11.4 million na agad yung population nila. And then Indonesian population reached 268.1 million in 2019, up from 238.5 million on 2010. Ganun po kalaki, kabilis yung pag-improve o pag-growth ng populations from Indonesia. Then the population growth rate was 1.31%, and the most populous provinces in 2019 of course is the West Java, which has a 49.317 million populations. Then as the economics of Indonesia, the new order brought spectacular development to Indonesia during the 1970s and 1980s. Yung new order po, ito po yung new system from the third presidentials of the Indonesia. During the New Order, the economy was transformed from one having virtually on industry in 1965 to production of steel, aluminum, and other materials that they can use to trade. Then, Indonesia's major trade partners, of course, yung mga kalapit bansa lang, katulad ng mga Japan, the Indonesian Union, the United States, Singapore, and the Republic of Korea, and also the South Korea. Trade with associations of Southeast Asia nations, which is the ASEAN. And of course, the economic profile, the Indonesian government has been pushing ahead with its plan to make Indonesians a manufacturing hub for Southeast Asia. Kasabay po ng paglaki ng population is pinush din po nila na magkaroon sila ng mga main manufacturing hub para po masustentuhan o mapunan yung pangangailangan ng kanilang komunidad at ng kanilang bansa siyempre. And then yung 2018, it launched the Making Indonesian 4.0 roadmap, which aims to boost the industry competitiveness by incorporating major innovations such as artificial intelligence, robotics, and sensor technology. Ganun po kabilis yung progressions ng economic ng Indonesia. Sila po ay napaka agresibo to the improve, kasabay po ng pag-improve o paglaki ng kanilang population. Then the Indonesian economy is centered on the agriculture and industry. Kaya nga di ba yung pagsimula ng pandemic, kung mapapansin natin o nakikinig tayo sa balita, yung kinapos ng suporta yung Pilipinas sa bigas is isa sa nag-supply ng bigas sa ating bansa is the Indonesia sa bigas. Then the main agriculture products of Indonesia, of course, rice, cassava, peanuts, cocoa, coffee, palms, copra, poultry, beef, pork, and eggs. And majority of those products is makikita dito sa Pilipinas. Then Indonesia largest industrial products include petroleum and natural gas, plywood, rubber, textile, and etc. Then also tourism is also a growing sector in Indonesia economy. Then as you can see, this is the map of Indonesia. Ganito po kalawak yung sakop ng Indonesia. And to make it more clear, ito po yung Indonesia. Nasa baba lang po siya ng Pilipinas. Siya po ay sa pagitan ng Pacific Ocean and the Indian Ocean. Then there is unusual, interesting, and fun facts about Indonesia. Of course, there is 10. First is Indonesia is home to diverse natural landscape and inhabitants that are culturally and spiritually fascinating. Kaya nga Indonesia is also home to many funny things, quirky, craziest, and fun facts that you'll only make you fall further in love with the massive archipelago. Kasi nga po, yung Indonesia is isa pong biggest archipelago around the world. Kaya naman yung mga iba't ibang uri o natural landscape ng kanilang environment is makikita mo talaga yung pagiging natural at pagiging amazing from its being amazing creatures. This article will explore 20 interesting, curious, and dominating bizarre facts about Indonesia. And this is the sample of natural landscape that you can visit or you can see in Indonesia. And next, Indonesia is home to over 100 endangered animals. As you known as the lost world of Asia, Indonesia is the playing ground of increasingly rare, exotic, and absolutely beautiful animals that are slowly reaching critically dangerous level of endangerment. These animals include the Sumatra tigers, Sumatran, etc. Kumbaga, yung mga hayop po sa Indonesia is binibigyan nilang halaga. pine-preserve nila kung anong mayroon sa kanila. Kumbaga, nire-respeto nila ang buhay, hindi lamang upang pagkain ng isang nilalang o para to survive, kundi para din i-preserve kung ano nga ba ang halaga ng kahit anong buhay basta't may buhay. Kaya po, ang isa sa ang Indonesia sa nakakapag-preserve sa mga endangered animals around the world. And the next is Indonesia has the world's biggest young populations. Indonesia is the home to 165 million people under the age of 30 compared to the only 8% of the Indonesian populations being older than 60 years of age. Besides of being having a huge or biggest population, halos karamihan po dito is including to the young populations. Ganun po kalaki yung populations ng mga youth between the age of 30. Kaya naman pinipreserve na doon na may palaganap yung mga batas at yung mga opportunities para sa mga kabataan at sa mga empleyado syempre. Kasi nga during yung Indonesia isa sa binibigyan nilang importansya is yung mga young people, kasi yun yung makakatulong o yung makakapagbigay o makakapag-ambag ng mas malaki para sa kanilang kaunlaran. Although a relatively effective family planning program was implemented in Indonesia in 1964, syempre kasabay ng paglaki ng populations is gumawa silang paraan para makontrol at yun yung family planning na ginawa na de-implement. The Indonesia population growth is projected to surpass the present populations of the United States should nothing to change. And of course, Indonesia is home to over 700 different languages and dialects that we can discuss before earlier. The shocking numbers of languages is spoken throughout the Indonesian archipelago, with the Bahasa Indonesia being the official language of Indonesia. Just the Papua province alone boasts over 270 spoken dialects. This is from province of Papua only. Then the total population for Indonesia is around 242 million people, and Indonesia is also the largest Muslim majority nations in the world. Even yung Muslim is not originated from Indonesia, pero isa yung Indonesia sa pinaka nasakop ng mga Muslim. Kaya naman yung sa Indonesia is the largest Muslim majority nations in the world. Then also, Indonesia home to the largest volcanic lake on earth, and this is the feature of the Lake Toba. It is the world's biggest natural volcanic lake, and it is located inside the super volcano in northeast Sumatra in Indonesia. This is considered as the amazing disaster. And also, the lake is simply enormous and has been measured to be roughly 500 meters deep and 100 kilometers long and 30 kilometers wide. Ganun po kalawak yung Lake Tuba. Lake Tuba is thought to be the site of the monster eruptions that occurred around 70,000 years ago, and is to be the largest known explosive eruption on the earth and killed the majority of humans alive at the human. Kaya naman po yung Indonesia is mas marami sa kanilang mga sakuna o mga disaster, kasi nga po napapaligiran yung Indonesia ng mga volcanoes. Sabay noon, syempre ng mga earthquake or pagkakaroon ng maraming fault line in their areas. And also, Indonesia is made up of 17,504 islands. Ganun po kalaki o ganun po karami yung island na bumubuo sa Indonesia, kaya nga sila yung one of the biggest archipelago in the world. As it stands today, the lands of Indonesia consist of 17,504 islands, although As climate change occurs and sea levels rise, this will change in time. Although many officials still debate the exact number, the Indonesian government has declared that this is the number for right now according to the Indonesian Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs. Then from fringe tiny islets to dense jungle volcanoes reaching up from the frothy sea waters, Indonesian unbelieving amount of islands make up the Earth's largest archipelago. The next, Indonesia is the only place on Earth to observe the Komodo dragons in wild, because the Komodo dragons is the world's largest species of lizards, and this 3 meters long. This is the sample of Komodo in the right sides. This is the picture. Its scaly creature exists on just 5 Indonesian islands. The father or jelly motang floris rinca and the naturally Komodo. These animals are truly terrifying with their toxic bites, huge stature, and the carnivorous diets. They hunt and kill animals that are far bigger than them, including humans, syempre. Sumatra is one of the just 2 places in the world to observe wild orangutans. Sino naman talaga yung makakalimot sa orangutans kung nananggaling sa Indonesia, or majority of their populations is matatagpuan sa Indonesia. In Indonesia, orang means person and otan means forest. So, orangutan means persons in forest. And so orangutans, great literally means persons of the forest. Inulit ko lang. Then aside from Borneo, Sumatra in Indonesia allows travelers the opportunity to witness and marvel at the wild orangutans residing in the jungle of Gainong Leusser National Park close to the village of Bukit Lawang. Kung manunod tayo ng mga entertainment o mga vloggers from Indonesia, isa sa mga pinupuntahan o kilala dahil sa mga orangutans, kasi po yung orangutan sa Indonesia is hindi siya mailap sa tao. Kumbaga maamo siya, pwede mo siyang hawakan at hindi nananakit. Depende kung sasaktan mo rin, syempre, kasi hayop pa rin naman yun. And then Indonesia is home to the biggest Buddhist temple in the world. Buddhist temple. It was constructed during the 9th century. The Borobudur. This is the picture of the Borobudur temple, located in central Java in the world, is the world's largest Buddhist temple. It has 1,460 relief panels on the walls, which is the biggest land and most complete collections of Buddhist relief on earth. The shrine with the 504 Buddha statue, then dedicated of Lord Buddha. Siyempre, naniniwala sila sa Buddha. Buddha is their God, the representative of their God. It is the place for Buddhist pilgrimage. Then, the pilgrimage starts at the base, follows a footpath around the temple, and climbs through the levels represents Buddhist cosmology. Then the world of desire, syempre, the world of forms, and the world of formlessness. And for number 10, Indonesia and Monaco have the exact same flag. As you can see, this is the flag of Indonesia, and this is the flag of Monaco. A stripe of red at the top and the stripe of white at the bottom. The Indonesian flag hardly seems the most creative and the most painstakingly thought out in the world, while Poland flag is the reverse flag. As you can see, this is the flag of Poland sa baba po ng Monaco. Then Singapore naman po is look alike pa rin po, pero meron siyang arrow and 5 stars. And this is the flag of Indonesia, light red, then white. Yung Poland po is kabaligtarin lang po siya ng flag of Indonesia and Poland. Kumbaga yung pula ang nasa baba at white naman yung nasa taas. Then let's move on. And additionally, Indonesia still enforces the death penalty by firing squad. Capital punishment methods in Indonesia have not changed since 1964, and the death penalty is enforced only in very severe cases in drug trafficking or murder. Kumbaga para lang po yung death penalty is na-enforce pa rin po, pero para na lang po doon sa mga may mabibigat na kaso. Then prisoners often spend a long time in jail before their death sentence penalty as they're carried out. Bago sila pumunta sa firing squad, syempre dumadaan muna sila sa proseso ng pagsisisi. Bago sila, bibigyan muna sila ng 72 hours para sa kanilang huling gagawin sa kanilang buhay bago sila dalhin sa firing squad, and then also babarilin sila. Then it's Indonesia, its capital is the most Instagram in Asia. Kung nagbabasa kayo ng mga news or article, yung Indonesia po is almost or commonly use Instagram even in communication, posting, and other uses of social media. Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, is the most Instagram city in Asia and number 8 throughout the world. Number 8 po around the world. Then, the sprawling metropolis, Jakarta is home to over 9 million people and offers an abundance of photographic material which is clearly evident when Instagram recently in 2017. Kumbaga, kung sa Pilipinas, we are use of Facebook as our daily life by sharing our daily tasks, then our feelings, emotions, and also for use of communications. Yung Indonesia naman po is they use Instagram to express what they want. Then also, Indonesian is the archipelago country located in Southeast Asia. This is the Indonesian geography, lying between the Indian Oceans and the Pacific Ocean. Then, Indonesia is located in the strategic location as trade or long major sea lanes connecting East Asia to South Asia and Oceania. Then, Indonesia was ranked 14 around the world's largest area with 8 million kilometer squared land area. And syempre, tulad ng sinabi ko nina, 23.62% as the land area, then while the 76.38% is the water area. Then, the climate of Indonesia mostly tropical rainforest. Southeastern part is predominantly tropical savanna, while the some parts naman of Java and the Sulawesi are tropical monsoon. Then, the terrain is plain in most part of Kalimantan, Southeast New Guinea, Eastern Sumatra, and Northern Sabah. Then, the natural sources available land, coal, petroleum, natural gas, timber, copper, lead, gold, and etc. Then, the natural hazard are tsunamis, volcanic eruption, earthquake activities exert in the central part, tropical cyclones including, at isa po doon sa mga disaster na yun, syempre yung pinaka main reason kasi nga po napapaligiran sila ng mga volcanoes and mini fault line. Then environmental issues are served, deforestation, air pollution resulting in acid rain. Isa din po yung deforestation is their main problem dahil nga po tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, sa sobrang pagbilis ng kanilang population is nangangailangan din po ng sapat na area, kumbaga nadadagdagan o nagagamit yung area na dapat is hindi. Kumbaga dapat yung area na para ma-preserve for environment is nagagamit para doon sa titirahan ng tao. Ganun na kumbaga na-occupy po yung spaces. Then as the Indonesian culture, the culture of Indonesia's influence for centuries by Indian culture, which brought Hinduism and Buddhism. The archipelago gradually adopted Islam between the 13th and 16th century. Then the Dutch began colonizing Indonesia in early 17th century. The Imperial Japan occupied the islands from 1942 to 1945. Then the culture of Indonesia has been shaped by long interaction between the original indigenous customs and multiple foreign influences. The Indonesia is centrally located along ancient trading routes between the Far East, South Asia, and the Middle East. Then, resulting in many cultural practices being strongly influenced by a multitude of religions, including the Buddhism, Christianity, yung Confucianism, Hinduism, and Islam, all strong in major trading cities. The result is a complex cultural mixture very different from the original indigenous culture. Kumbaga, dahil po sa maraming kultura na naka-impluensya sa Indonesia, nagkaroon po ng mga pagka-mix ng mga culture para maging isang cultural mixture na tinatawag. Complex cultural mixture. Binabago nito mula sa pagiging original. Then, example of the fusions in Islam with Hinduism include Habanes Abangan belief. Then, balance dances have the stories about the ancient Buddhist and the Hindu kingdoms, while Islamic art forms are architecture and present in Sumatra, especially in the Minangkabau and Aceh regions. Then the world has influenced Indonesia in science and technology and the modern entertainment such as television, shows, film, music, as well as the political system Then, despite of the influences of foreign culture, some remote Indonesia region is still preserved uniquely indigenous culture. Kumbaga patuloy pa rin nilang pinipreserve yung mga na kinaugalian nilang culture from their ancestors, like yung Asmat, Dani, Dayak, Toraja, and many others are still practicing their ethnic rituals, custom, and wearing traditional clothes in Indonesia. And then families as their society, families is close as they come, like in the Philippines. Kumbaga, kahit naghihirap, basta sama-sama, masaya. No matter how old or independent they are, Indonesians tend to keep right relations with members of their family. Then, for many Indonesian youth, moving out of parents' house is simply not things, even when they already have a stable income of their own. Kumbaga, iniisip nila sa kanilang pagsama-sama na ikaw, kahit alam mo naman kaya mong buhayin yung sarili mo, is hindi ka pa rin dapat umalis sa loob ng isang tahanan nyo. Kumbaga, iisang compound pa rin kayo. Hindi nyo tuturuin yung isa na pabigat, kundi kumbaga, iisipin yung isa na motivations na magtutulungan kayo para masurvive yung araw-araw na buhay at maging masaya ng sama-sama yung pamilya. Family first. Then, when in Indonesian, you'll see a belan is present, they're offering first things in morning. Nagdadasal sila o nagbibigay sila ng offering sa umaga. Then, no matter what religions they uphold, Indonesians are generally very spiritual. Isa din po doon sa characteristic Indonesia is yung pagiging God first. They take their religious practices very seriously, and treat is reflected in the daily rituals, ceremonies, even the grandness of their places of worship. Then, as the history of Indonesia began with organized civilizations on the island of Java and the Sumatra. In the Buddhist kingdom called Srivijaya grows on the Sumatra from the 7th to 14th century. Then, by the 14th century, Eastern Java saw the rise of the Hindu kingdom Mahapahit. Mahapahit's chief minister from 1331 to 1364, Gadamada was able to gain control of much of what is present-day Indonesia. However, Islam arrived in the Indonesia in 12th century. In the early 1600, the Dutch began growing large settlement on Indonesia islands. Then the Dutch then ruled Indonesia 300 years as the Netherlands East Indies and Indies. Then by the early 20th century, the Indonesian began to movement for independence, which grew particularly large between World War I and World War II. Japan occupied Indonesia during Group Indonesia proclaimed independence for Indonesia. Then on August 17, 1945, the group established the Republic of Indonesia, which they become independent. In 1949, the new Republic of Indonesia adopted a constitution that established a parliament system of government. Then, because of the executive branch of the Indonesia government was chosen by parliament itself, which was derived among. Then the Indonesians struggled to govern itself in years following its independence kasi nga po yung tao is halos hindi na sumusunod sa mga sinasabi ng mga namumuno kasi nga po hindi naman sila kumbaga hindi naman dinaan sa proseso na ito yung gusto ng majority, kaya nahihirapan din sila sa pagpapasunod at pag-implement ng mga batas o mga panuntunan. Then yung 1959, the President Sukarno re-established a provisions constitution that had been written in 1945 to provide broad presidential powers and take powers from parliament. Then this act led to an authoritarian government term guided democracy from 1959 to 1965 after the parliament democracy. Then the late 1960, President Sukarno transferred this political power to General Suharto, who eventually became Indonesian president on 1967. Then the new order na sinabi ko kanina is from the President Suharto to rehabilitate Indonesian economy. President Suharto controlled the economy until he resigned in 1998. Then after years to continue civil unrest. Yung tinatawag na New Order, ito po yung nagsaayos ng political and leadership system ng Indonesia. Indonesian third president, President Habibie, then took power in 1999 and began rehabilitating Indonesia economy and restructuring the government. And then how Indonesia copes with COVID-19? Indonesia hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Indonesia has turned to technology to help share information and provide regular updates as the virus is spread across the archipelago. Then, data on the locations of active COVID-19 cases and which areas are deemed to be red zones not only help individuals protect themselves but also assist local governments in the planning appropriate courses of the action for the crucial public services. Yung isa po sa malaking tulong sa pagsugpo ng COVID-19 sa Indonesia is yung paggamit ng technology to spread the informations. Isa po yun sa ginamit nilang pamamaraan para maprotektahan yung bawat isa, maprotektahan yung kanilang mga sarili, pamilya, at also yung kanilang kabuhayan at ang kanilang kalusugan. At isa rin po doon sa tulong ng media is yung ipaabot kung ano yung programa o pinapakalat na solusyon mula sa kanilang pamahalaan o gobyerno. Local governments in Indonesia have taken advantage of the digital revolution. Yun nga po yung sinasabi ko kanina. Then Indonesia copes with the oxygen shortage as the COVID-19 cases quadruple. The government has asked oxygen procedures to suspend all supplies to hospitals as dozens dies from the shortage. Kasi nga po, lahat naman po talaga ng bansa is hindi naging handa sa gupit ni COVID-19. Kaya yung paggamit ng oxygen is na-short yung Indonesia para supplyan lahat ng hospital and lahat ng isolations area. Then, syempre, being a shortage in oxygen, nagbigay sila ng prioritism kung para saan o sino lang dapat yung gagamit noon. On June, the Minister of Industry indicated that the country's severed utility of oxygen gas industry about 700 million kilogram per year. Kaya yun na po yung simula ng pagkakaroon ng prioritism of providing an oxygen. Then, despite of this sufficient production capacity, the major challenges with oxygen availability relates to supply chain management to hospital. And as the part of the efforts to spread up the response to this new wave of the virus, the government of Indonesia is furthering efforts to vaccinate from. And if you can, para this link po is nagpapakita na sa situation ng India, how they copes with COVID-19. It's titled Too Little, Too Late. Why it's too little, too late? Let's watch this.
It has the highest COVID-19 mortality rate in Asia, hovering at around 8 to 9%. Indonesia also has the most number of coronavirus deaths in the region, second only to China.
To be honest, the government's early response of their tackling of the COVID-19 pandemic has been substandard from the very beginning. If you recall, earlier in the year when China, when South Korea, Singapore, countries around the region started declaring their coronavirus counts, Indonesia was still very much in denial about how many cases they had. They even declared that they didn't have any COVID-19 cases well until early March.
Indonesia has been ramping up its fight against COVID-19. But there's concern that the move may have come too little, too late.
The phone is ringing and tells our mother passed away. It's completely blown my mind, drowning in the sadness.
They were only given 4 to 5 hours to prepare all the funeral arrangements, and only his wife and a priest from the church were allowed to be at the funeral.
Can you imagine the one you love? No one can come. Only my wife and one priest from our church.
Indonesia's health ministry has admitted that the mortality rate of 9% is much higher than the global average. But the true number of COVID-19 related deaths may never be known.
The majority of observers know that the figures that are being released by the government is perhaps far from accurate. If we look at the numbers of admissions to hospitals alone, if we look at the numbers, the higher levels of mortality rates across cities across Indonesia alone, we know that this number is not correct. So the danger of using this kind of figures as a measure to how well Indonesia doing is dangerous because it's just simply misleading.
Does Indonesia, a country known for its inadequate medical infrastructure, have the resources to handle the rising number of patients?
Indonesia has one of the lowest testing rates in the world. So far, the country has only tested around 108,000 people, which means it has tested only around 319 people per 1 million population, which is much lower than Vietnam, for example, who has tested more than 2,600 people per 1 million population.
Indonesia faces a severe shortage of vital breathing devices to treat people with the disease. According to the Health Ministry, Indonesia has just over 8,000 ventilators nationwide for a population of 270 million people. It also has 2.7 critical care beds for every 100,000 patients.
And then we look at the number of hospital and the number of physicians or doctors. They all far below the demand.
According to a 2017 WHO survey, the country only has 4 doctors for every 10,000 people, well behind Malaysia, which has 15 in terms of doctor-to-patient ratio. There's been an extremely high mortality rate among healthcare workers. As of early May, the pandemic has killed 38 doctors and 17 nurses.
This is due to lack of facility, like PPE, for example. Indonesia's healthcare at the moment is at the brink of breaking down because there's just so many patients.
Pernah disampaikan bahwa ini kita masih di fase awal gitu, yang mana begitu nanti pertumbuhan tinggi tenaga medis sudah nggak mencukupi lagi, baik dari sisi fasilitas rumah sakit, kamar, maupun tenaga medis sendiri, karena tenaga medis terbatas.
President Jokowi has reallocated some 26 billion US dollars from the 2020 budget to fund the fight against COVID-19. The government has also recently built a specialist hospital on Galang Island in Riau to treat COVID-19 patients from across the nation. A team of Indonesian engineers are also working around the clock to produce compact ventilators.
Of course, these have to be supported by follow-up policies so that these steps could be effective.
But in a dramatic turn of events, the government has signaled that it will ease some of the social restrictions to curb the spread of the virus. This is despite criticisms from epidemiologists who warned against easing such restrictions too early unless it has strong evidence to show that the coronavirus curve has been flattened. Amid the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 outbreak, according to government estimates, some 5.2 million people will lose their jobs, and almost 4 million Indonesians will fall into poverty.
Indonesia is facing a tough choice at the moment, right? Whether to safeguard its economy or save the lives of its citizens. And a lot of governments around the world are facing the very same choice right now. When to open up restrictions, what to do next, etc.
At isa sa mga reason kung bakit nahirapan yung Indonesia sugpuin yung biglaang paglaki ng cases ng COVID-19 sa Indonesia, at also dahil na rin sa hindi nila 100% sure yung bilang ng mga cases sa Indonesia, kasi nga po during the time that Japan, China, Indonesia, Korea, except of Indonesia is starting to count in their COVID-19 cases, yung Indonesia po is still denying. Tinanggi po nila na wala po silang case ng COVID-19 sa kanilang country. And then kinalaunan, nung lumaki na ito, hindi nila nabilang kung ilan yung saktong bilang ng mga naapektuhan. However, yung Indonesia hindi po nagpabaya. Priority agad nila yung solutions, which is their first solution is the vaccinations. They prioritize to give a vaccinations yung mga tao na may malaking ambag sa population, who are the young population at the age of 18 to 30 years old. Then kumbaga priority nila kung sino yung mga employees o majority employees ng kanilang bansa. Kaya dahil binibigyan nila ng halaga yung economic, na kapag bumagsak yung economic is mahihirapan silang bumangon once na sila ay bumagsak. At yun nga po yung nangyari. Hindi po ganun ka lumugmok yung pagkabagsak ng ekonomiya ng Indonesia because they are well planned. Then syempre yung mga matatanda is binigyan na po sila ng mga chances na maturukan once they are availability to vaccine, because sa pag-provide po ng vaccinations, they have a prioritism. The next, Indonesia are known for what? First, Indonesia is the home to the biggest Buddhist temple in the world, and also Guinness World Record holder for the largest packet of instant noodle. Ito po ay sila po ay nakakahawak nito until now. And our country of Indonesia still enforces the death penalty by firing squad that they are said before. Then also as their tourism Yung beaches po, isa po sa kanilang mga pinupromote o isa po sa pinaka-attractive na pinupuntahan sa kanila is yung beaches of Bali. The Bali has a number of cultural landmarks and traditions that make a visit from worthwhile, but for the many people, Bali is about the islands of beautiful beaches. At ito, isa po sa pinakamagandang resort doon ay yung luxury resort na kung saan hindi makakalimutan o hindi nakakaligtaan dapat puntahan once you are visit in Indonesia. And then, second is the Borobudur. This is the picture of the Borobudur. This ancient temple is one of the most famous and culturally significant landmarks in Indonesia. The Borobudur was built on 8th century and constructed in the shape of the traditional Buddhist mandala. It is one of the top UNESCO World Heritage. It is considered one of the greatest Buddhist sites in the world. The next is the orangutans of Borneo. Those orangutans still live in the wild. Several sanctuaries rescues and protect orangutans as land development infringes on their natural habitats. Sino ba naman yung makalimot sa orangutans when we say or when we talk about Indonesia? Because Indonesia is home to the largest orangutan populations in the world, as well as the other primates, birds, and reptiles, and also the Lake Tuba. Another of Indonesian natural wonders is the Lake Tuba. It's both a body of waters and a super volcano. The lake, which states its creator was formed between 69,000 and 77 years ago, and it's believed to have been a result of a catastrophic eruption. And this is the references. And thank you and God bless. I hope and always remember na ang karunungan ay hindi lamang sa loob ng paaralan. Thank you at mabuhay po kayo at mag-ingat tayong lahat. And God bless. Thank you.